Study This and That Season 2. And this month we'll be covering health science series. I'll just let more people come in first before we start. So as you come in, just for your information, we will be having 8 universities from Australia covering 8 different topics of health sciences in the coming weeks. So this is week 1 and this is our first series. So if you are having following us from season 1, welcome back. Now we're currently at season 2. So today, I'm your host today. My name is Koo. I'm the country head of AACC Global, Malaysia and Singapore. And I have 2 guests, VIP guests with me today. I have Mr. Simon Tran, and Mr. Simon Tran is from Macquarie University. He's the International Country Manager, Southeast Asia. And I have Miss Sharon from University of South Australia, and she's the International Recruitment Officer. So thank you for being our guest today. And Miss Sharon will be sharing on study in psychology, and Simon will be sharing on chiropractic. Yeah, these 2 subjects are very popular area that a lot of students actually inquire about. And that's the reason why we have this talk specifically for you. So feel free to ask questions. So there is a box at the bottom, a Q&A box where you can drop your question down there. And we'll be happy to answer your questions on the stage, or as you go, there will be some text answer will be answered along the way. So don't be shy. No one knows who you are when you are actually asking the questions. Yeah, you'll be anonymous. So before we start the session, just want to let you know that ACC is actually the university placement agency that specializes in overseas education. Follow us on Instagram or Facebook via our social channel, and also visit our website for more information. And it's exactly 8:01 now. So let's start. Are you guys ready, Sharon and Simon? Let me start the questions. Welcome everyone. So my first question goes to Simon. Simon, can you please introduce what's chiropractic to help us for the audience to have a better understanding? Over to you, Simon.
Thank you, Koo, and thank you for everyone for tuning in tonight. As Koo said, if you have any question, please feel free to pop that in the Q&A. So my name is Simon, and I am the International Country Manager from Macquarie University. So the big question here is, what is chiropractic? Okay, so chiropractors is a profession that is evidence-based practitioners dedicated to addressing and preventing disorders within the musculoskeletal system. So how is it different from physiotherapy? Okay, so basically, chiropractors work directly on your spine. So they will use their technique, they will use their hand to, to manipulate your spine or, your hip system, put it simply, to help you to release from all the pain that you have. Yeah.
Thank you, Simon, for your short and very precise answer. And over to you, Sharon. Sharon, could you please explain to us a little bit more about psychology?
Okay, so psychology in the simplest terms is actually a study of how somebody behaves, how they think, how they feel. So traditionally what psychology used to be thought of is that it's an art, it's something really fluffy and people don't know. They use simple terms, for instance, like, oh, a person is crazy, for instance, to explain when something is not right with your mind. But over time, there has been a lot of scientific discoveries when it comes to psychology. There's a lot more that we know about how the brain works and how it actually affects or influences our behaviors, our feelings, and so on. So a lot of things that we would have dismissed a long time ago as something that is just or, a person who's just crazy, who doesn't know things going on. Now there are names to those things like anxiety or depression or any other situation or illness that a person has. There are names to it now, even though there is nothing bodily wrong with us, even if it is just in your mind. So in a
I
brief.
pass, thank you. But let me ask, because a lot of students, parents, they'll be asking their students, why? Why do you want to study psychology? So do you have an answer? Why should students study psychology? Is there? Yeah.
So the most simplest answer that we would give is that because what field does not require psychology, or what field does not require you to actually know or deal with people? Because essentially what psychology is a field that allows you to work with another human being and to understand how how do they think, how do they approach situations. So in what psychology essentially gives students is flexibility. So with psychology, you can go all the way to the end and become a full psychologist with practices that is very entrenched in science or very training based. But you can also learn psychology just like an art or as a complement to anything else and work in many other different fields. So it's that flexibility that psychology gives you. It can be anything and everything.
All right, thanks, Sharon. And I'll ask the same question to Simon. Right, Simon, why? Why should I choose Cairo, and why shouldn't I choose other health sciences? Can you
Yeah.
please give us some reason?
This is a very good question. I would say that degrees or professions in Cairo will give you the opportunity to develop knowledge and also skills in the health science domain, which is similar to any, of course, any health and medical professions. However, for professions in Cairo, basically it also gives you a very solid earning potential. So according to Australian, the wage income report recently, the starting salary for students who study chiropractic in Australia is around $81,000 per year, which is really good. Yeah, and on top of that, studying chiropractic doesn't mean that you have to to stick with offering care to patients, but you can also go into other areas such as sports, pediatric, or even research. So of course, like there are many different doors that you can choose and you can go into. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Simon. Please stay with me. And since you are, thank you. I've started seeing one question for you on the Q&A. We'll come to you. We'll answer your question very soon. So now my second question is, will you be able to explain, since we are on Cairo, will you be able to explain like what sort of core structures will the student cover when in their 5 years of chiropractic?
Awesome. I have a slide for this. So yeah, we can go to my slides.
Yeah.
Okay, great. I'm just going to share my screen right now so that we can all have a look at the slides. All right, I'm gonna do a full screen. All right, so are you able to see my slides now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. All right, so I think I have already mentioned about this. So let's go straight to the programs that are offered at Macquarie University. So in order for you to practice as the chiropractor, you will have to complete at least a 5-year program. So this 5-year program includes a Bachelor in Chiropractic Science and a Master in Chiropractic. So the bachelor degree is a 3-year program, which is the typical duration for a bachelor degree in Australia. Our master program is between 2 to 3 years, but if you have undertaken a bachelor in chiropractic at Macquarie or somewhere else, we will be able to reduce that to 2 years. So the combination of these two is 5 years.
All right, thank you, Simon. And is there, if I would like to program, any opportunity, along the way that student will get to do a bit of practical?
Yes, certainly. So what I'm showing you right now is the typical study plan for a Bachelor of Chiropractic Science. So you can check for the first year, the second year, and the third year. So in the Bachelor of Chiropractic Science, we offer fundamental health science training, teaching a wide range of diagnostic and therapeutic skills in the context of anatomy, physiological, and biomedical science. Okay, so if you go to basically, if you have a look at the second year and also the third year, we have a lot of subjects in in anatomy and physiological. So at Macquarie University, at the bachelor level, you will get the exposure to be you observe and also take clinical placement at the hospital.
Great.
Do you want me to mention about the master program? Because
Yeah,
basically there will be
continuous. Yeah.
Yes, sure.
Yes.
Okay, so in the Master of Chiropractic, the clinical is of course compulsory, because at this level, it's just one step away for you to become a professional practitioner in this area. So clinical placement is very important. So if you have a look at the study plan right here, you will see that in your third year, there will be a lot of clinical internships. It basically takes a whole year for you to complete that. And at Macquarie University, we are the only university in Australia have our own hospital on campus. So what it means to students is you will get to observe, you will get to study, and you will get to do your internships at our clinics on campus.
So if I'm a student at Macquarie learning this program, when will I get to crack people's bone? The Instagram reel that we show the students, some of the audience might have seen it. They learn how to fix patient positions, posture. So
Yes.
will they be doing it in the final year of year 3, or they will get to do it earlier than that?
So for bachelor degree students, unfortunately at the bachelor level, most of the time you only get to visit you will get to visit the clinics to observe it only, but at the master level, you will get to practice it yourself, and it's part of the program. I can quickly show you some photos. I think this one, like we have clinics available on campus that allow students to practice as well.
Cool. Yeah, I've been to one of your clinics. Really impressive. Thank you, Simon. Thank you for sharing with us the course overview of the course. And let me go to Sharon. Sharon, can you please let us know if I were to study psychology, what sort of pathway will can I choose? Is there, because I know there's special arts, special science, special psychology. So which is the best for me? And is there a difference?
Yes, so there is a difference between the different courses, but to explain that better, I'm going to share my screen as well. I don't have that many bright and pretty slides as Simon does, but I'll just show you what the APAC registration pathway is. And I think as we go on, we possibly could also explain what APAC is. So essentially to practice in Australia, and the rules are different in different countries, right? Because the rules for practicing as a psychology in different countries is governed by a psychological body or a psychological science association in each of those countries. In Australia, that body is called the APAC. The Australian Psychological Association. So what they have determined that a student needs to be a registered psychologist is to go through something called a 3-year sequence plus a 4th-year sequence or a 4-year sequence. Essentially what this means is that you need to have an honors degree or a 4-year degree to be able to register as a provisional practitioner. So you get a provisional registration, but that is not a full registration. So if you have provisional registration, you can't call yourself a psychologist. You still need to do the 5th and 6th year, or you would do the 5+1, which is 1 year professional psychology masters, and then you do a 1-year internship, and after that you do another 1 year of supervised practice, and then you get the full registration. So after you complete at least about 6 years of study up to postgraduate level, you will then get a registration that will allow you to call yourself a clinical psychologist. So but this is a little bit different than what it would be, say, in Malaysia or Singapore. And I'll get to that in a minute. So if you're asking, if a student asks themselves, which level should I go up to, until what level should I study? It really depends on what you want to be when you graduate. So if psychology is really your thing and you want to be a clinical psychologist, so because a clinical psychologist essentially is like a doctor, except that they don't actually deal with blood and surgery and all those kind of things, right? But they can still administer medication, they can still do treatment, give you behavioral treatment, so on and so forth. Their approach is different, but they're very much like a doctor. If you want to reach that level, then you should expect to study the full 4 years honors degree, get your provisional registration, continue on to do your master's for at least 2 years, and then get full registration to be a clinical psychologist. But if you like psychology, but you don't like it that much to go right up to becoming a clinical psychologist, if you don't want to be responsible for somebody else's life by messing with their heads, then students actually get the option that you can actually just do a 3-year sequence, which is just a Bachelor of Psychology, and they can top that up with any other postgraduate degree in any other field. For instance, if they're interested to teach psychology, then you do a Masters of Teaching after you do your Bachelor of Psychology. If you want to actually practice it together with law, then you do your Bachelor of Law, Bachelor of Psychology double degree. If you want to actually work in a corporate area, then you can just do your Bachelor of Psychology. You can just go into any other into a corporate company. You can do change management, you can do human resource management. And the reason why it's so difficult to say which area you should stop in is because psychology is that flexible of a field. So personal experience, right? So I also did psychology. My first degree was in biomedical sciences, and I did a 3-year sequence in psychology. I have worked in human resources. I have worked in technical companies doing change management and all and that area of work. And now I'm working in recruitment. I'm working in the education industry. So psychology is one of those multidisciplinary fields that can be applied in any area. So whether or not you should do the 3-year sequence, you should go all the way to 4-year sequence, do all the way to the 5th and 6th year sequence to get your registration, depends on where you want to be and what you want to do with that psychology degree.
Right. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you so much. So we'll come back to this. So let me just reset the floor again. Now, there is actually a poll at the bottom. I appreciate if you are the participant, the attendee, if you could actually let us know whether are you interested in psychology, chiropractic, or you are even both. Please let us know so that we can actually send you the right information. Yeah. So please do so as we go on. Now, back to Simon. Simon, I understand that you are the only university that have the hospital on campus, right? Now, besides that, is there any key facility that you wish to highlight to our audience? Or is there any collaboration partners that you have for chiropractic that you wish to highlight? I understand you also work with some industry sports teams.
Yes. So I would like to provide some highlights in terms of facilities and support that we provide to chiropractic students. So we have one of these best, chiropractic learning labs on campus, complete with like digital technology and enhanced learning. So, nowadays we talk a lot about, technology 4.0, the industry 4.0. So we use a lot of, technology, digital technology in our system. So we have 3 different Macquarie operated clinics for clinical placement and training on campus. And, some of these clinics are not only, based on campus, but they also based on the surrounding suburbs. Okay, and the Department of Chiropractic, we always organize, industry networking events, because we understand that, going to the university is not only about, going to lectures, doing practicals, or learning the materials, but it's also about expanding your network. And on top of that, because we have our hospitals, so of course we have the X-ray training facilities, which is super helpful for students in chiropractic. Okay, so I think you did mention briefly about the collaboration partners for students in chiropractic. So we do work with a lot of sport clubs, because on campus we have an amazing sport and aquatic centers. And this sport and aquatic centers is open to everyone, and it's not limited to students. So we do work with this sport and aquatic center to assist them and provide support to people who are in need. And we also have association with nursing homes and also clinics in the areas.
Right, great. Thank you, Simon. Thank you for sharing. Now, I'm going to ask the same question back to Sharon. Now, Sharon, as we know, psychology is offered by many universities in Australia and around the world. So is there anything that you wish to shout out for UniSA in terms of your facility for psychology? Do you have
yes.
psychology clinics and all these things? Yeah.
Yep. So the campus that you're actually seeing on my backdrop is called the McGill campus. McGill campus is where we run most of our psychology programs. So again, let me share with you my screen to show you the courses that we have, and then I will talk through the facilities for each of those programs. So at UniSA, when it comes to psychology, we offer the Bachelor of Psychology, but at the same time, we also offer the Bachelor of Psychology with both counseling and interpersonal skills specialization, and also the cognitive neuroscience specialization. So for all of our Bachelor of Psychology students, or all of our psychology students, we do have our own psychology clinics. So these psychology clinics have got registered psychologists working in them who would supervise all our students. But students actually get to do a bit of their placements. They get to do some of their practice experience classes at these psychology clinics. And this is where they get that face-to-face contact with patients, and they would have some skills which they need to develop as part of their classroom lessons, but they do it in the psychology clinic instead, in a face-to-face on-the-job environment. For the cognitive neuroscience, we do have a cognitive neuroscience lab, we do have sleeping labs, we do have chronological labs. And so these are all different labs that help with research within that area. For instance, for cognitive neuroscience, you do have a lab where you get connected to the EEG machine, and a person would go through different activities depending on what the research is. For instance, if you want to do a research on how anger management, or how an angry person would react to certain colors, for instance, you connect them up to the EEG machines in that lab, and then you would provoke them to see what their reaction is, and then check what their vital signs are and all those kind of things. So there are specific labs for different projects or different streams, and also for different courses that a student would take.
Okay, that's interesting. Sleeping lab. I want to try one if when I have a chance. Well, okay, now let's come to the more serious part, entry requirements. So I understand that in today's sessions, we have people who are SPM and O-level, and we also have pre-university students and also some degree and postgraduate students. Now, may I know what is the entry requirement for this question? I'll pass it to Simon. Yeah, so may I know what's the entry requirement for undergraduate Bachelor of Chiropractic? And if I have a bachelor in one of the university here, what's the entry requirement to get into the master's program? Yeah, over to you, Simon.
Yeah, the very frequently asked question about the entry requirements. So in terms of entry requirement to our Bachelor of Chiropractic Science, For Malaysian students, basically for STPM, we will look at your best 3 subjects, and the total score would be around 9, which I believe is quite easy to obtain. Okay. For Singapore A levels, we require at least a BBC.
Okay. And with that, may I know, is there any places, is there a quota for this program? Is there a quota for international students?
For the Bachelor of Chiropractic Science, we don't have any quota. And from my experience, as long as you meet the requirements, you will be able to get admission into the program. However, for the master program, we do have a quota. Yeah. So every year we have roughly around 20 to 25 places that we save for international students.
So if I am a SPM students, if I'm SPM students, and I'll be doing a foundation before I get into your program, right? Into a bachelor degree. So is there any prerequisite subjects required for them to study? Is there any particular subject that they need to study at the pre-university level in order to meet your entry requirement into the Bachelor of Chiropractic? Is it maths or science, any science?
Yeah, it would be ideal if you can take science like math or physics before you entering the program. However, it's not part of our requirements that we ask students to have before they can apply to the program. Because at Macquarie University, even in the first year, if you need help with like subjects like math, we also have support centers that can help you with that. So please do not worry too much about what you study in your high school or pre-university, because I'm sure that as long as you have the passion for health and medical science, we will be able to support you in your first year if you have any problems with science subjects.
Okay, I'm just going to choose one student from the chat. Yeah, she's asking, what's the entry requirement for Singapore Polytechnic students? Poly student, is there do you accept poly student in the first place?
Yes, certainly. We do accept students from poly, and one of the good news that I can tell you is that we even give them credit exemptions. So if your diploma at Polytechnic in Singapore has similar subjects to what we teach in our bachelor degree, we can give you credit exemptions.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you, Simon. Now I'm going to come back to Sharon. Sharon, for psychology. Yeah. What is the entry requirement for Malaysian student and Singaporean student to get into your psychology degree?
Okay, so the entry requirement for the courses depends on whether it's an honors program or a non-honors program. So essentially the honors program, the 4-year sequence has got a higher entry requirement. So if you're doing STPM or the A levels, then the scores that you require is about 12. So there's a way to calculate it. So each A would give you a certain score, your Bs would give you a certain score. So as long as you achieve 12 from best of 3 subjects, that should get you entry into the program. There are no prerequisites for both Bachelor of Psychology or the Bachelor of Psychology honors and the different streams. However, if you do come from a science background, it does give you a little bit of a heads up. If you don't come from a science background, you can still study most of it through sheer hard work. For the courses without honors, the entry requirement is slightly lower. So for A levels, it's about 6. For Malaysia, STPM is also about 6. So to give you an idea what 6 is, it's probably like maybe 1A, 1B should be able to get you in to the program. Or any combination of your best of 3 subjects that gives you about 6.
Okay, thank you. Now, the next questions that I have for Sharon, about the accreditation process. So if I want to be a registered psychologist, what is the process in Australia as well as in overseas like Malaysia and Singapore?
Okay, so let me bring up that slide that I had earlier again. because that will help you with answering that question. Okay. So to get registration in Australia, assuming that you want to go all the way to become a clinical psychologist, then all you need to do is to make sure that you do sign up for a 4-year program, essentially a bachelor's of psychology with an honors year program, and that program needs to be accredited by APAC. So all of UniSA's programs, our 3-year programs are a 3-year sequence accredited by APAC. Our 4-year programs or honors level programs are 4-year sequences accredited by APAC. That would give you provisional registration. Once you get your provisional registration, you then go on to do a master's level program in any area of your interest. Unfortunately, at UniSA, we don't offer a master's level program for international students. But once you complete this 2-year program, again, APAC accredited 2-year masters in any of these fields, you then go on to get your full registration with APAC. For students who intend to take their degrees and go back to Malaysia or Singapore. So currently Malaysia and Singapore, although they do have psychological bodies or psychology bodies in Malaysia and Singapore, registration is not compulsory. So in Malaysia, there is the Malaysian Society of Clinical Psychology, and in Singapore, there is the Singapore Psychological Society. Both of them do sort of administer the register for clinical psychologists in both countries, but that registration is voluntary. So if you don't register with these bodies, you can still work as a psychologist, but in Malaysia, you can't call yourself a registered psychologist or a clinical psychologist, and in Singapore, you can't call yourself a registered psychologist. You can still work as a psychologist because there is no rules to govern whether or not a person who's practicing as a psychologist is really a psychologist. But to get this registration with this body, you would need to have, for Singapore, you need to have accreditation from the university where you're studying it from. So for instance, if you're studying it in Australia, you need to have your full APAC registration or license. And in Malaysia, you just need to make sure that you study up to your master's level course. Anything lower than that, you wouldn't be able to register with these bodies. Yeah. Does that sort of answer the question? Or
yes, thank you, Sharon. Now back to Simon. Simon, I understand there is a chiropractic chiropractic board in Australia. But how about Malaysia and Singapore? Because not that I know of, but will you be able to explain a little bit more how, if a student complete their degree and masters in Australia, when they come back to their home country or any other country, how do they apply for registrations?
Sorry, I was on mute. So I'm back now. So let me bring back my slides. I did prepare something on this. So, all right. I think I have this one. Yes. Okay. So let's start with, registering in Australia. So our programs are recognized and accredited by the Chiropractic Board of Australia. So in order for students to practice in Australia, under the requirements of the AHPRA, which is the Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency, they must have at least obtained the master program or prove that they already achieved an IELTS of 7.0 in each band. Okay, and this is the requirement in Australia. From my understanding, there's no, official or professional bodies in Malaysia or Singapore that recognize or administer the practitioner of the chiropractors professions. So basically, you can still work in countries, but you can't call yourself a registered chiropractor, similar to what similar to what said before. So from my experience working with students, a lot of our students, they work professionally in Australia, in New Zealand, and also chiropractic is recognized in countries like Canada or is even in Sweden.
Thank you, Simon. Now, we are almost come to the end of my questions, but there's a lot more Q&A questions waiting for you guys to answer. So, okay, my last part of this session will be about the career opportunity and the demand. Now, Simon, since you are with me now, now may I know, besides being a chiropractic, I know some of my friends who are a chiropractor, they are also running their own business. Yeah.
Yes.
So, so what sort of career path do you see some of the Macquarie graduates have gone to, and in terms of expected salary range, if I were to graduate as a chiropractor in Australia, is there a salary range that you can share with us?
Sure, certainly. So I also have a slide for this. So let me show you a slide. All right. So let's have a look at the slides. All right. So to begin with, I just want to share with you some of the quite amazing numbers of achievements that we have. There are roughly around 5,000 registered chiropractors in Australia. And amongst the 5,270 registered chiropractors, half of them actually graduated from Macquarie. Okay, so the average full-time weekly hours are between 36 hours comparing to 40 hours on average for other professions. And the average starting salary is around $81,000 per annum, which is quite high comparing to other average starting salary right now is only around 60,000. From my experience and also from a lot of research, basically a lot of students, once they finish their degree, they can start, working in the clinics. After a few years, they can open their own clinics if they want to. So did I answer your question, Ku?
Yes, yes, I do. Now, Sharon, I'll ask you my last questions before we start answering the audience questions. Yeah. Now, how about psychology? What sort of starting salary range that a fresh grad will be expecting?
Okay, so for a student who does psychology, the lowest that you probably get is about 75,000 per annum. So that comes up to something around the starting point of 6,000 per month in Australian dollars, and it can go as high as 90,000+ per year, and that is about 7,900 per month. So, and that number or amount would increase with your amount of like say your certification papers. That would increase with the area where you work in. So if you go into like say neuroscience, psychology, you'd possibly be looking at more of the 90,000+ per annum. If you're working just as a psychologist, or if you're working as a say education psychologist, you're probably looking at more of the 80,000+ per year.
Thank you, Sharon. Now, audience, thank you for your patience. Now, I'll come to your questions. Now, I have a question for Simon. What is the future of chiropractor in Singapore due to lack of official MOH regulations?
Wow, this is such a tough question, Ku. I know that you will come to this. Yeah, so I can't really speak on the behalf of the MOH in Singapore because it's a long fight, and it will take some time for them to recognize chiropractor as a official health professions in Singapore. But I know that, if you earn a degree in Australia, many of our students, they open their own clinics and they still do really well in Singapore. So whether, is it recognized by the MOH or not, I think, there's still the room for the market for students to graduate and have a really good professions in Singapore. But of course, I hope that one day the MOH will approve it officially. So, there will be more students taking on this course, and, there will be more people working in this area.
Right. Thank you, Simon. And okay, then I have another questions for you. Seems that there's a few more questions for you tonight. So, okay, the next question is, how's the career progressions like for a chiropractor? Now, we know that some of the students have actually started their own business. And have you heard of anything else besides that, besides starting their own business or practicing attached to a hospital or clinic?
Certainly, like if you don't want to open your own clinics, or if you don't want to work in the clinics, you can certainly, work with like a sport clubs. I know that a lot of students, they choose to go to specific sport clubs and become a chiropractor for that sport club. Other kind of job is basically you can go into research, or, or maybe you want to become an academia and, teach the program as well. So there are many different, opportunities that you can choose after you finish your degree.
Right. And now we know that the border has no news about when will it reopen, right? This is a very tough question that I get almost every week. Now, with that, how will the students get to do their practical? Because some of the program, like you mentioned, that's involves some practical training, especially at the postgraduate level. How do Macquarie, change or adapt to the current situations? Can they do it like in Singapore and Malaysia?
Sure. So at this stage, basically the borders are still closed. So unfortunately, international students from Malaysia or Singapore can't really fly to Australia. We do provide exemptions for students who have clinical placement at hospitals by invitation only. So, if you have secured clinical placements at a hospital or clinic in Australia, we will provide the exemption to you. However, most of the time, students who we get to do the clinical placements are third-year students. And I know that a lot of our audience right now, like, in high school and looking for opportunities to enter from year one. So my question to you is that I hope that, the borders will open in 2022 so that you will start with us and then you will get to do clinical placements in Australia. I think you're on mute, Aku.
I'm sorry. I'll let you take a short break. I'll pass the next question to Sharon. Sharon, are you ready to take the question from the floor? Now, my questions for you will be, now, if I would like to apply for credit transfer for Bachelor of Psychology, Cognitive Neuroscience after my 1-year study at any Malaysia university for Bachelor of Psychology, or if I complete a diploma in psychology from any of the Malaysian institutions, would it be possible for not, I think Mango, is your question saying that can you not selecting your specializations when you transfer? Because I think her question is, can she transfer into the bachelor degree if she were to do first year bachelor psychology and or diploma? I believe you do have some articulation arrangement with Malaysia local institution, right?
Yes, we do. We do have some articulations with local institutions, but even if you are going to any Malaysian institution that is MQA registered, so both the university and the course is MQA registered, MQA recognized, and you have completed anything that's diploma and above, and you're using that for entry into a bachelor degree at UniSA, if it is a related area of study, we will assess that qualification for credits. You just need to submit your transcripts and also your syllabus from the school. And then we would assess it to see how similar it is with our program, and then we'll grant you credits as you go. If you're looking for credits, so for instance, if you're doing a very general diploma or a very general bachelor degree, say if you've just done a diploma of psychology or a bachelor of psychology, but you're looking to go into something that is more focused at uni, say like a bachelor of psychology, neuroscience, cognitive neuroscience, for instance, then the chances of getting a lot of credits is probably lower. So you will still get some credits, for instance, like psychology 1A or psychology 1B, or any of the more academic foundation topics. You probably would get credits for those, but you may not get, for instance, if you've done 3 years of diploma, you will not get a full 1 year of credit from your bachelor degree. Or if you've done 1 year of bachelor's of psychology, you will not directly get a 1 year credit of your university program. But will it be assessed? Yes.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. Now I have the next questions from as audience called Ryan. What is the pros and cons of the two different psychology pathway for undergraduates pathway and the honors degree pathway? Would you like to show a slide so that as you explain?
Yes.
What is the pros and cons? Yeah.
So, essentially there are no pros and cons when it comes to which pathway that you are choosing. The pathway from the beginning of your psychology degree to the provisional registration is essentially just about the same. The only difference between, say, starting with a 3-year sequence or a 4-year sequence, a lot of times it depends on whether or not you need the entry requirement, because entry requirements for the 4-year sequence is essentially a lot higher. It is like 93 if you're looking at the ATA perspective. But for just say the 3-year sequence, the entry requirement is about 80 or 70 for some of the streams, right? So if you don't meet the entry requirement, you then use the 3-year sequence as a pathway. So you do the 3-year sequence, but anytime in your 3 years, after you completed your first 6 months and you hit a high GPA, so from your first semester, if you score, like say a distinction, a 6/7, you can start to apply for a transfer into the 4-year program. So after your first semester, you can start applying. After your first year, you can apply. After your third semester, you can apply. After fourth semester, and you can keep trying until you complete your 3-year sequence, right? So it really depends on your score that you are getting every semester. If you hit the transfer score, you can apply to go into the 4-year sequence. Once you complete the 3-year bachelor's, if you decide, I want to go out to work first, see if I'm interested in anything else, and then at some point you realize that, hey, actually I want to be a registered psychologist, then go on and apply for a 4th-year sequence, which is just the Bachelor of Psychology honors year. So the difference between this and that is that in this program, the honors year is built into the bachelor's. In this program, the honors year is separate. So you're doing 3 years and then you're adding on 1 year. In this sequence, you're just doing all of it together, right? And then once you get your provisional registration, don't look at the 4+2 internship pathway because that is not applicable anymore. APAC is retiring that pathway. There are 2 options. You either do a full 2 years master's degree in any of this area with this specialization, and once you complete that master's, because your master's would have sufficient supervised placements and supervised hours, once you complete a 2-year APAC accredited master's with any of the institutions here in Australia, you will automatically be then eligible for the full registration. Or you can do a 5th year. It's like a 1-year master's, but still an APAC accredited 1-year master. And then you do a 1-year internship or 1 year, and then you do a 1-year supervised practice, and you still also get the registration. So this whole pathway, essentially, it's just different ways of getting from the start of your psychology degree to getting fully accredited and fully licensed to practice as a clinical psychologist. You can choose to do it all at one go, the straight cut method, or you can actually take a break, go through a different, longer, possibly pathway. to get to it. But essentially, it gets you to the same place.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Sharon. And now I have one more question before I give Simon to have a quick look at the Q&A. But I have one more question to you before I pass to Simon. Now, if I graduate with a Bachelor of Psychology honors from UK, right?
Mhm.
So can I apply for master in any psychology area? Or must I still pursue your 4th year psychology honors in Australia?
If we can assess that to be equivalent to an honors year, an honors degree or a 4-year sequence. So with the APAC, how they essentially look at it as they would look at any degree that you obtain from anywhere, not just in Australia, and they assess it to be whether or not it's a 3-year sequence or whether it's a 4-year sequence. To be able to get entry into a master's level program, especially Masters of Psychology program, you would need to have a 4-year sequence. So for instance, in some countries, they actually call it a Bachelor of Arts Psychology, right? And it could be a 4-year or a 5-year degree. And well, not just in UK. For instance, I'm going to take a random country like India, for instance. They do a Bachelor of Arts Psychology, and sometimes it's 5 years long. Okay, and that would be sent to APAC, or you would go to APAC and get them to assess that degree, and they would tell you, is this a 3-year sequence or is this a 4-year sequence? If that is considered a 3-year sequence, then you still need to do your 4th year sequence in Australia. Essentially, you need to still do a Bachelor of Psychology honors in Australia before you can do your master's. But if APAC says that that particular degree, whether it's 3 years long or 4 years long from whichever country that you're graduating from, if APAC says that, no, this is equivalent to a 4-year sequence, then you can apply for any APAC accredited master's program.
Okay, so I'm going to have my last question to you before I ask Simon, right? Is there any scholarship? Yeah. We love scholarship. Is there a scholarship from UniSA?
Yes, there are scholarships at UniSA. We have got 2 different scholarships, which is the IMS, the International Merit Scholarship, and also the Vice Chancellor's International Excellence Scholarship. So these scholarships are actually, so for the IMS, if you're applying for a Bachelor of Psychology degree and not the Bachelor of Psychology honors, you will be eligible to apply for the IMS, which is 15% off the entire duration of the degree if you achieve a credit average and above. Again, that would depend on which qualification that you're doing in Malaysia or Singapore. With the VCIES, that is a competitive assessment. You would need to hit what we call a high distinction average, which is on a GPA that is like a 7/7. So if your scores are close to perfect, then you'll be able to apply for the VCIES, but you also need to submit your personal statements, and then that would be a competitive assessment to see if you would get a scholarship. But that scholarship is 50% off the entire degree.
Okay, and for scholarship informations, we'll be sending to you after the event. So after this webinar, we will compile some of the interesting questions that's asked by the students or attendees today. We'll put it into a form of email, and we'll send to everyone that's attending who attended the event today. Now I'll pass the mic to Simon. Simon, I have a lady called Amy. She said, Simon mentioned that there's no prerequisite subject, but mentioned science and physics. Why physics? Also in your core curriculum, students have to take biochem subject. So do students need to have a good grounding in chemistry?
Sorry, I think I wasn't clear on that before. So I just want to clarify that to Amy. So basically, we don't have any prerequisite subjects for you to apply to the programs. So you can basically, coming from an art stream, or you can come from, a business stream or a science stream and can still apply to the Bachelor of Chiropractic Science at Macquarie University. What I'm trying to say is that in your first year at Macquarie University, if you have any problems or if you struggle with the science subjects, we will have support available to you to help you through these first year subjects.
Thanks, Simon. And the second question from Amy is that for poly diploma students in Singapore, which diploma are acceptable into the Bachelor of Chiropractic Science degree? And I think you did mention that there's credit exemptions, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So pretty much all diplomas are acceptable into our Bachelors of Chiropractic Science at Macquarie University. However, in terms of credit exemptions, how much that we can give you, it depends on the program that you are doing in Singapore, whether it's a science diploma or it's like a business diploma. So, you know, if it's aligned with what we teach in our first year at Macquarie University, we will be able to give you more credit exemptions.
Thank you, Simon. Okay, so my next questions, I think is more of a reconfirm what you said earlier. So after completion of chiropractic course, is the degree or masters is recognized in Malaysia or any other countries worldwide? I think you say yes, right? It's just that, that there's no board governing them in certain country.
Yes, it's correct. Yes. And
Yeah.
you know, after you have completing the masters in Australia, I know that a lot of our students, they you know, they start working in Australia, New Zealand, or in Canada, in Norway, or in the UK. So yeah, these are the countries that recognize chiropractors as a profession.
Right. I think I don't see any more questions on the Q&A. Let me just have a look at the chat in case some student actually put it there. Yeah, I think it's almost there already. Most of the questions we have answered, and we left like 1 minute to 1 hour. Now we still have a 59 audience with us. Now just want to, if you have any more question, please feel free to put it in the Q&A box, you know, now, so that we can come back to you. If not, we'll be ending the room very soon. So to end, Simon, just want to ask, is there anything that you want to wrap up or do a summary before we actually wrap up this tonight's room, and while waiting for students in case they want to put in any questions?
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you to everyone for tuning in today. I think I didn't have the opportunity to introduce about our scholarships available to Malaysian and Singaporean students.
Sorry.
No, sorry. But I think it's worth to mention that right now we're offering one of the most generous scholarship you know, programs in Australia. So we are offering the ASEAN scholarship, which is valued at $10,000 per year to all students coming from Malaysia and Singapore. So if you enrolled in one of our programs in you know, 2021 or 2022, you will be eligible for these scholarships. So it could be up to 40,000 or 50,000 if you decide to undertake the package of, you know, Bachelor of Chiropractic plus the Masters of Chiropractic in Macquarie University.
Oh, cool. That's a good deal, actually, in fact. Yeah, now, how come I actually missed that out? Sorry, Simon. So, Sharon, do you have anything to actually say or summarize before I actually end the room tonight?
Well, thank you for having me, I guess. And thank you for spending your evening with both Simon and me today. I think if you've got any other questions regarding UniSA, regarding our programs, psychology programs, contact ACC. You can also look me up on the UniSA website. Happy to have a chat after this if you've got any specific questions on the course. Yeah.
Okay, and thank you, everyone. If you Okay, thank you everyone. And I think there's no more question. I don't see any more question popping up. But just want to say that thank you for attending the session today. If you have any inquiry, our counselor, our team from Malaysia and Singapore will be contacting you in the next few days. So feel free to ask any questions. We were sharing with you about the tuition fees, the entry requirement, scholarships, program details. We'll be sending to you via email. So that if you have any more questions after getting our extra materials, please feel free to reach out to us. We are always available on our website during our office hour, and counselor will WhatsApping you, so you will have their personal handphone number as well. So we have 6 more health sciences topic happening on the 17th, 27th of April and 29th of April. So if you do interested in any other program, please feel free to register yourself and keep in touch with us, and follow us on our Instagram and Facebook for more information. So because from time to time we do shout out Macquarie and UniSA about their latest news as well as their scholarships updates. So thank you very much. Thank you, Simon. Thank you, Sharon. And hope everyone in this room have a great evening. I'll be leaving, and there will be a survey when I end the room. There will be a survey form pop up on your screen. Please feel free to let us know what do you think. I'll try to improve on my pronunciations. Thank you. So thank you for staying with us for the last 1 hour, and have a good night. Thank you. Thank you, Simon. See you. Thank you, Sharon.
See ya.
See you.